Chapter 2, Lesson 4, Simplifying Factors. Our learning objective is you will simplify fractional factors before multiplying by using the greatest common factor. Our essential question is, how do you simplify fractional factors by using the greatest common factor? Unlock the problem. Some of the corn grown in the United States is used for making fuel. Suppose 7/10 of a farmer's total crop is corn. He sells 2/5 of the corn for fuel production. What fraction of the farmer's total crop does he sell for fuel production? Okay, so looking at this problem, we see 7/10 of a farmer's total crop is corn. He sells 2/5 of the corn for fuel production. What fraction of the farmer's total crop does he sell for fuel? So we're taking the 2/5 multiplied by 7/10. So 2/5 of the corn for fuel production. So we don't really care about the total for this moment because we already have the 7/10 of the total. Now, of that 7/10, how much is for fuel production? So first we're going to go down and go to the one way, and it says simplify the product. So we're going to find the product and then simplify. So we're just going to multiply the numerators. So 2 times 7, which is 14. And then we're going to multiply the denominators, which is 5 times 10, which is going to be 50. So now we have 14/50. Now we're going to write the product as a fraction in simplest form. So I know that 14 and 50 can both be divided by 2 because they're even. So 14 divided by 2 is 7, and 50 divided by 2 is 25. So 2/5 times 7/10 is 7/25. So 7/25 of the farmer's total crop he sold for fuel production. Now let's look down here at the other way. It says another way is to simplify before multiplying. So we're going to write the problem as a single fraction. So instead of writing it like this, they want us to write it like this. Do any of the numbers in the numerator have common factors with numbers in the denominator? Well, let's look at it. The 2 in the numerator and the 10 in the denominator have a common factor other than 1. Okay, those are both even. So divide the numerator and the denominator by the GCF. The greatest common factor of 2 and 10 is 2. So I can cross off that 2 and put a 1 because 2 divided by 2 is 1. 10 divided by 2, I can mark that off and put a 5 because 10 divided by 2 is 5. So now that makes 1 times 7, which is 7, and 5 times 5, which is 25. So here we got the answer and didn't have to simplify those big numbers. So simplifying before you multiply keeps your numbers a lot smaller. So 2/5 times 7/10 equals 7/25, we decided. So the farmer sells 7/25 of his crop for fuel production. It says compare. When you multiply two fractions, will the product be the same whether you multiply first or simplify first? And yes, so you're going to get the same answer when you multiply first and then simplify the product as when you simplify first and then multiply. Both answers will be in the simplest form, and you're multiplying the same numbers. For the example, it says find 5/8 multiplied by 14/15. Simplify before you multiply. So when I look at this 5 and 15, I know that they both end in 5, so that 5 is my GCF because they can both be multiplied by 5 if they end in a 5. And 5 divided by 5 is 1. 15 divided by 5 is 3. Now, I could just go ahead and multiply 14 times 1 and 8 times 3, but I see something else that has something in common because 14 and 8 are both even. So I know that I can multiply those by 2, or divide those by 2. So 14 divided by 2 is 7. 8 divided by 2 is 4. So now I have 7 times 1 and 4 times 3 instead. 7 times 1 is 7. 4 times 3 is 12. So 5/8 times 14/15 equals 7/12. We're going to go ahead and do the try this together. So let's look at these two down here. It says find the product, simplify before multiplying. So 3/8 multiplied by 2 9s. The greatest common factor of 3 and 9 is 3, and the greatest common factor of 2 and 8 is 2. So I take 9 divided by 3, which is 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 2 divided by 2 is 1. And 8 divided by 2 is 4. So now when I multiply across, I have 1 times 1, which is 1, and 4 times 3, which is 12. So 1/12. Over here, the greatest common, or we're taking 4 7ths and 7/12. Greatest common factor of 4 and 12 is 4. The greatest common factor of 7 and 7 is 7. So when I look down here, 4 divided by 4 is 1. 12 divided by 4 is 3. 7 divided by 7 is 1. 7 divided by 7 is 1. So now I have 1 times 1, which is 1, and 1 times 3, which is 3. Look down here at number 1. It says explain why you cannot simplify before multiplying when finding 3/5 times 6/7. That's because no numbers in the numerator have common factors with numbers in the denominator. There is no common factor between 5 and 6 or 3 and 7. Just a quick reminder of what our objective was. We will simplify fractional factors before multiplying by using the greatest common factor.